I think from last year we're holding, we just spoke about the biyah, the fact that biyah, each olam is malbish, another level of atzilus. That's the last thing we spoke about, I think, no? Last year. I want to go back a bit to the beginning, as the rather that you're learning it, I'm learning it as well. And in Mela, some things get clarified. We didn't have it clear right away, and get clarified a bit later. I call it the Geshaila. What are we talking about in this Mamer? This Mamer was saying that there's Erin Sof, that's Mislabish, Adla Mata, not just the Ishavos, also there's a Gili and a Ismash. What are we talking about? So, if you look at the Mamer, the Tavshin Chav Beis, Tavshin Chav Gimel, Tavshin Chav Daled, it can give a bit of a clarity. In Tavshin Chav Beis is Madgish that last year's Maimon that spoke about the Hishavus, the Koyach Elokit that's Mahab in the world, is particularly talking about the Hishavus. And that's why, let's say, the fact that Tzva Shemayim Chazokim Kiyim Hiborah, they have the same strength as they used to have. You could say it's because there's a Chayis Tzmidus in them. And he says, no, there's something in the creation which allows them to be such Nivroim that are Chazokim Kiyim Hiborah. So there has to be something in the Koyach HaYishavus that made them that it has the union of Ein Sof. Next year, in Tavshin Chav Daled, the Fikr still continues in the idea of the Mata the Intachlis, and he says that it's all included in the Vata Mechayis Kulon. And he says, so the Rebbe teaches us that Vata Mechayis Kulon is al Tikri Mechayil, the Mahava, the fact that he's Mahava B'chorega, there's the Chayis of the Kid that's Mahava B'chorega. But al Tikri doesn't take away the Poshet of Pshat, that Vata Mechayil gives Chayis. So it sounds like what we're talking about in this Mamer is two things, or three things, a few things. Any hamshachas achayis that comes into the world once it was created. Number one, the hamshech hakiyum. The fact that Dvar Havaya nitzu b'shamayim and keeps the world being mishava b'chol rega, that's one nekuda of Erin Sof being nimshach into the ilmus. Another nekuda is chayis, there's tzmicha, there's gidul, there's a lot of new chayis, new hashpah coming into the world. It says Berachav Elikecha b'chal Taisa, the hashpah, Parnosa, the hashpah, Nilus, the hashpah. Okay, the hashpah of tzmicha, the hashpah, any new hashpah coming to the world, other than just the hemshech hakiyum of the nivroim, the tisefes bracha, tisefes hashpah, that's another hashpah. And then there is higher hashpahs. For example, he's going to be masber soon about Nilus, that was a great Gilead the Kus in that hashpah. He's talking about Torah, we'll talk about that later also. The Giluim of Nisim. The fact that there are other Giluim of the Eibishter within the Eilumis are all included. What's the Chiddush of this year over last year? That after Bria Sa'ilam, within the Bria, there can be Hamshach of Erin Sof also. Hisavus is like a separation. There's a Koyach HaMahaba which makes a Nivra. But he's not in the Gidri HaNivra. Mashenk in any hashpah into Gidri HaNivra, including the fact that he's mamshich to be mahaved. There's already Gidri HaNivra, and there's a Dvar Havai Nitzav Basharmayim. There's a Dvar Havai in the Nivra. So that's already a Erin Sof coming into Gidri HaMat. Bracha, hashpah, it's all Erin Sof. Now, one akud is it's Erin Sof. In other words, what is behind that hashpah? It's not just a hashpah to give them a bracha, the sefes. Obviously, Dvar Havai and Nitzav Hashemayim, you understand, it's a Dvar Havai, it's the Koyach Elokit with the Hishavus that's in them. But any hashpah is also really a gili of Erin Sof that's being mislabish, as we'll see soon, into giving them hashpah lefiyarka. That gili is coming in a way that you could be makir. You could be makir that it's hashgacha pratis, that the Eibush is paying attention, the Eibush is being mashpiyah to each nivra. It could then show you that there's a mahava, which then you could realize the fact that the mahava has to be shlei berech greater than the mishava, and maybe you could come to the hakara that he's Ein Sof. Aderech, we said last year that in the mishava you could see behagdoros of the fact that the koyach behind him is Ein Sof. Aderech zeh the hamshacha into the nivraim, and also from what it says next year, it sounds like mainly it will be that I will prove to you that there has to be a mahava, and then with his havos you'll see the idea of Ein Sof. But Sof Kol Sof, you'll be able to recognize in the hashpah that's given to you that it's Be'etzem Ein Sof.
So the fact that there's ashpah from Ein Sof into you, that's one kud of the Ein Sof Shabbai, that it could be mispashet into you, into your gedorim. And the fact that you could be makir, that makes it even more, that even the Tachton could be makir, the Ein Sof Shabbai. That's the Kolossi. Yeah? Yeah. And then the Gili, the fact that you could recognize that that's the Gili. And it's all, as we said other times also, it's all part of that flow of Ein Sof. He could come into the Tachton, and to the extent that the Tachton could understand him, could recognize him. How goof is that flow of Ein Sof? That he could enter so much that even the Tachton is a kid. Yeah? Okay. Fine. So we're holding now about the fact that neshamis are also part of biyah. So there's a few things spoken about neshamis over here. One akuda is that the Mamer of the Fidik Rebbe is mandgish that neshamis also come from biyah. Minai parch nishmas and livnei nosha. Most neshamis are neshamis the biyah. Why is he madgish that? Says the Rebbe. Because our avodah is to make the dira b'tachtoinim. So we have to be shaykh to tachtoinim. We can't be nothing to do with tachtoinim. On the other hand, later on the Fidik Rebbe is mamshich that we are the pnimius. Because if we're mamish shaykh to the tachtoinim, we can't be ma'aleh the tachtoinim either. So you have to be the pnimius. Then there's the word that you have the chad b'dorah. That's an neshama d'atzilus. And it's a chad b'dorah that the dirt is calling him, etc. And the dirt is standing on him. Then you have, maybe, that the Rebbe is not really not being mekasher b'golui, but you have the fact that he brought early in the Mamer, that you have the Gil Madregis Oilmus and Neshamas and Alikus. And that the Havamina was that the Neshamas are masim to Bria, and the Maskon is that the Neshamas are masim to Atzilus. That's Yisrael Osi Shapi. The Chayda is mamish. The Chayda doesn't go in line with what he says afterwards, that the Reuven Neshamas are from beyond, the Dafkin beyond, the Dafkin Shaychtit. The fact that there is Madish that the Shaykh Dafkin Atzilus. So the Chayda, the word, is all of these together. In other words, B'chlonos Azay. B'chlonos all Neshamas and Mehusam and Neshamas Atzilus. The real Muhus of the Neshama is what is he about? What is his real nature? Living the herring Eibishter Lamitase. That's why he has to have a bittul to the Eibishter. Not like a malach that could have a proper asoga in the Eibishter as an outsider, but a very good asoga, and therefore a very strong bittul. Rather, his muhus is to the her the Eibishter Lamitase, and to live with him Lamitase, and to feel him Lamitase. That's the teva of the Neshama. The neshama, the biyah, was mislabish in biyah. In other words, the conscious teva of the neshama is either a teva of bria or of yitzira of asiyah. His conscious teva is he has asoga salikus. That's the neshama that can have tchilu rechim usichli, and they can have a proper asoga until they can have a proper ava to the Eibishter based on that. The neshama can have a midas tivius begoli to the Eibishter krishpeyesh. They can have a nirgash tika ava to the Eibishter, but not necessarily such a clear, real havana velikus. So then neshama is the yitzira, and then the neshama is that they don't relate not to goli tika ava to the Eibishter, not to proper asoga of the Eibishter, but they could hear that there's an Eibishter and they have to be bottled him, and not from fold. Just asiyah. So their teva hagolu is biyah. Mahusam Mahamiti is Atzilus, or Lamaylam Atzilus, whatever, Mushashim Atzilus. But the depth of the teva, of the type of chokhmah they have, the type of midas they have, is midas and seichel that kol Mahusam is understanding Elikus, according to Elikus, with Bidul Gomer to Elikus. That's the real Mahus of the Neshama. But on the other hand, when Yorad Lebiyah, it's not just Pshat, he's Gikum V'ya Eirech into Biyah. Pshat is that his teva now is a teva of biyah. With all the chesrein shebedav. In other words, he's not just automatically the bittul dikanivra of biyah. He pasha lives biyah, so he could be a nifra just like biyah. He could feel himself and be comfortable with himself like any other nifra of biyah. So, That's Vidafka. And as we'll see later in the Mamer, Ad Kedekach, that he could even have the klippus also. You could even have all the toast of the klippus, he could also have. To bring a likus into Teva Ha'olam, you have to be shaykh to Gidri Ha'olam. If you're in Olam Hazeh, but the Hasan should Tomit Olam Hazeh, the Teva of Olam Hazeh, the Teva of Biyah, has nothing to do with you. So then, if you're bringing a likus into you and you're feeling it, and you're even using Inyani Ha'olam for a likus, Teva Ha'olam doesn't become a keli for a likus, because it has nothing to do with Teva Ha'olam. If you have Teva Ha'olam, then when you bring into yourself Asog of a likus, a Herkish of a likus, it becomes part of Teva Ha'olam. On the other hand, if you would be really Teva Ha'olam, if the mindset of Biyah would be you wouldn't be able to recognize a likus properly. You wouldn't be able to bring it in against the nature, the initial nature of Biyah, that he should have bittul garment to the Eibush, and therefore he should be a keli for dir latzmusi b'tachtoin. So it has to be that you are the pnimius of Biyah. So he teaches pnimius is not just pshat, the most edel part of Biyah. Pnimius is pshat, what Biyah is based on, like the dibur based on a machshav. Dibur based on a machshav is not just pshat that the machshav is deeper in you than the dibur. Your dibur is totally based on the machshav. If okay, there's more to it, but let's in other words, what is Biyah all about? Biyah is all about the fact that you should be able to bring a likus into. And which nivra of Biyah is able to bring a likus into Biyah? The neshamas. Because the neshama is mehusa mashayich to likus. So Mela, what is Biyah based on? Biyah is based on a neshama of Biyah. Someone who feels the nature of Biyah, but you see he has a bittul gomer to the Eibishter, proper akara of the Eibishter, and he will eventually bring it into his akara, and it will be part of the akara of Biyah, that they could hear Eibishter properly. That's what Biyah is based on. B'meila, when a Yid does that avodah, it's not just he's a more edel and nivra of Biyah, and for it he has to do with Biyah. So Mamer, he could stick it into Biyah, he could bring in his feeling of Elikus could relate to Biyah. Biyah is based on that. And therefore, just like when a person thinks of Machshavah, it makes the Dibur have more Seichel, Chochmah v'Tam. Why? Because this is the imik behind the Dibur. So therefore it makes the Dibur richer. And like the Dibur is rich now. The Dibur feels like he's at his completion. So there's when a neshama does his aveda in Biyah, and it affects Biyah, it's not just pshat. He's higher, but he's for shaykh to Biyah. Therefore, he could change something of it. He's like bringing out what Biyah is about, and therefore he's bringing out like the tam v'seichel chochmah v'tam of Biyah. What's behind Biyah? So it's ma'ila Biyah from its core. Now, how goof is because an neshama of Mehusa is really Atzilus. It's parallel to an Eilumus neshamas of Likus are makbel to act Atzilus and Biyah. The Mehusa neshama is really Atzilus. On the other hand, we had to have a minute that he's Bria, because B'tziyuri is Bria. Tziyuri is a Nivra, and we need both of those things. We need the fact that the Mehusa is Atzilus and B'tziyuri is Bria. And therefore, he could bring a likus, lamitasi, into Bria, into Yitzir, into Asi, into all the elements. Because he's shaykh to the Teva, but he's shaykh to Hai. L'chayre, that's also the word of the Chad Bedor. He says like this, that the Lashon of the Rebbe is that only Chad Bedor, B'deris Rishain. So the Rebbe takes that statement and touches it in many ways, it looks like. First of all, Chad B'dor, it sounds like he takes it very loose, that it could be touched as in a few in a there. And B'deris Rishonim was miut. That's what it says, it wasn't one, Amal was miut. So Chad B'dor, then, it sounds like we touch it for B'deris Rishonim, we touch it as very few neshams. Then, B'deris Achreinim is what? Even in B'deris Rishonim was very few. So B'deris Achreinim, it's only Chad. It's only Chad B'dor. So he's using the Lashon Chad B'Dorah, and he's madgish that word Chad B'Dorah, and that's applying to Doris Achroinim. And the statement Chad B'Dorah V'Doris Rishonim is something he's teaching that V'Doris Rishonim is a mute. Why is it called Chad B'Dorah? Because the Dor is oimed on the Chad, and the Dor is kolon. So that's Tachim. There's two things that the Rebbe is trying to emphasize. One of the is what we said before, the fact that we're able to be ma'ila the Ilam, although we're in the Ilam, because although we're in the Neshamas to be in. So besides the fact that we're not Tzilus and we're the Pnimis of the Ilam, but before now we're Mulubish and Biyah, and that's the Teva that we feel, but we're connected to the Chad B'Dorah, which is higher. Since he lives at Tzilus, the Moshe Shebeder lives at Tzilus, and we're connected to him. So that makes that us, being in Biyah, are able to live higher than the Hagdoros of Biyah. Maybe also saying another Nekuda, that we're saying that Bedavk, in order to be Poel on the world, you have to be Mislabish and Biyah. So what about Neshamas Datzilis? What about the Moshe Shebeder? Since he's Chad B'Dorah, he's Koil the Dor, so he relates to the Islamish and Biyah also. He himself is not Mislabish and Biyah, but in him is Kol, and him is Oimed the Dor, which is Mislabish and Biyah, and therefore his pull on Biyah is also in a Pnimistic way. First Nakud I think is more clear. That I don't know. It's definitely a true fact, and definitely helps the beer. If that's what the Rebbe is trying to say, I'm not sure, but yesh mokim liber. Okay. So he goes into a beer of what's Neshamas the Biyah and Neshamas the Atzilus. He says like this, that Neshamas the Atzilus come from Yichud Avah, Neshamas the Biyah come from Yichud Zun. There are some Neshamas which could come from Yichud Zun and still be Neshamas the Atzilus. But it sounds like from Hamshech Hayonim, they're not really called Neshamas the Atzilus, proper Neshamas the Atzilus. They generally fall into the category of Neshamas the Biyah. And real Neshamas the Atzilus, that's Neshamas the Avah. Then you have Torah. Torah is Chabad the Zun. So who's miskasher to the Eibush the Dafke through Torah? Neshamas the Biyah. Or Neshamas which are from Zun. Masha'inki Neshamas the Atzilus, Neshamas that come from Avah. So for Moshe to be mashvil himself to bring the Torah, it was higher. He was higher than it. He was higher than the Torah. And these neshamas tatzilus are called achim v'reim lamokim, which means achim v'reim l'zov. So that's the Kudah saying. Kudah saying is like this: whenever there needs to be a hamshacha, to make a mekabel get an inyan amiti. So it's two opposite tenuas. The tenua of giving the inyan amiti is sticking to the inyan amiti, not being mischash with the mekabel. The tenua of giving it to the mekabel is being mischash with the mekabel. And there's two spheres, two ways of behavior which fit to these two inyanim. So you have chokhmah and bina and zoh and malchus. Chokhmah brings the inyan kameshuhu, bina is malbash and gidri hasbar. Zoh is a ha'ora, a feeling of a midah, and malchus is bringing the maisa and hashpor l'zulus. In order that there should be a mekabel that should live the chokhmah, that's to be yichud avah. In order that there should be a mekabel that should live the midah, that's to be yichud zoh. Now chokhmah is much more of a reina gili of Eibishter than zoh. Chokhmah is bringing out the inyan of leki kameshu in a mitzumtzum dika way that could be put into a nekuda and eventually be a little bit in bria in bina, but it's a pure gili erdin sof. It's like a derech chokhmah shalamat. It's telling you the idea b'torosei. It's trying to tell you what's zok der inyan. That's chokhmah. The ability you have to capture that, and the yisod of an idea that tells you the inyan b'torosei. That's the chokhmah. Bina is where you can be masberit. Midas l'chatchil is a subjective gili. Midas means what's my yachas to someone, or let's say the other way around. The Eibishter is being misgala that you could have an ava to the Eibishter. What's with an ava to the Eibishter? There's something in the Eibishter that talks to you. And therefore you could feel a relationship to it. So it's a gili of the Eibishter, but it's a gili, the chatchila, that could be misyachis to you, that you could be teifus. Not that you could be teifus. It's in relationship to you. How does he feel? How do you feel close to him? Not what is he about? How do you feel close to him? So Chachma is a gili of the ki Torah, and a gili Torah of a likus, and Zol Chatchila is a gili already someone biyachas to Zumas. Bina, the type of keli Bina is, it's still a bittul dika keli. The whole idea of Bina is I want to be masbir the inyan, masbir the seichel. I'm not trying to please you. If Bina is trying to please you, he's distorting the whole idea. I'm trying to bring over the idea that you should, and you want to get the idea. I want to give it to you, the idea, but you just it's too foreign for you. I want to bring it down to a shrech that you could grasp it. So I'm putting it at Gdoris and Asboris and etc. that you'll be able to grasp it. So the keli is also a bittul dika keli. It's giving somewhat of a chshivas for mekabel, a very bittul dika mekabel. Malchus is ashpol zulas in a Hellendic way, maise, without at all bringing out the teichen behind it. It's mamish making the zulas go. So yichud avois, there could be someone, a masik, which could inherit chochma of the Eibishter. So for that, kivyochos that nizgala verin in chochma and in bina that there's a likus higher than their own agdoris, and therefore there could be hamshacha of chochma, a gili of a pure gili of Eibishter that's technically going through the gedorim of bina, that's technically coming and being musber and allowing a mekabel to take it. He's a someone, he's a masik, but he's inheriting chacham, he's inheriting bittul gamet to the Eibishter. Yichud zun means it could be a metzias b'fnei atzmi, that is much more of a mugder, much more of a metzias. But first could inherit Eibishter. But what will he inherit of Eibishter? A midah, how he could relate to the Eibishter. So again, there has to be a gili alien into Zun in order that they should be able to work together. That on one hand, I am giving that gili of the Eibishter. On the other hand, I'm allowing it to be a nifrid, which is a teitzeres of a malchus. But what will be the feeling of Eibishter that you get? A feeling of Zon. A feeling that's b'syachis to you, that gives art for you. A Torah, I guess it is some stage of hamshacha of Torah. We call it that's noivlis chochma shel hamayler. This chochma of the Asian and this Torah. Torah is on one hand coming to us, that we should be able to understand it. On the other hand, it's not a midah. It's not what we could feel and relate to the Eibishter that talks to us. In other words, he's giving chochmasi, but chochmasi in the language that someone who doesn't inherit likus mamish could relate to. So it's chabad dezun, a derech behind the midah. There's the seichel behind it. The fact that I feel a kiruf to someone, what's the etzem atoiv behind that I'm feeling a kiruf to? That's something atzmistik of the mocker, but limited, and therefore that's something which could be the seichel behind what I could feel towards it. So there's the gili of the kus that could come to us. It's a reina gili of the kus, not what we could feel a shaychus to, but as misyachis already to us as a mitzvah. That's Torah. On a shoma datzilus, which is the hers the Eibishter alein, his iskashis is not based on Torah. His iskashis is deeper than Torah. He's mekashet the Torah to the Eibishter. When he learns Torah, he's mechaber the Torah to the Eibishter. The Mela, like this. When you have, I guess, in Yichud Zun, there could be a difference of what's goiver. For the neshama to be, which is a product of Yichud Zun, if the midas are stronger, he feels more the gili likus that he could feel a shaychus to. So technically, he's still an atzilus. He's still living a proper deher and a bittul gomer to the Eibishter. If I guess the malchus part is goiver, then he's much more of a neshama. The ban neshama, the bria neshama that feels more of his own metzias. B'toich zeh, he feels a deher of Eibishter. But since sof kol sof, the gili of midas is giving a room for you as a metzias, even within atzilus gufa, it's not tachlis atzilus. Tachlis atzilus is chochmah atzilus. The whole atzilus feels chochmah atzilus, therefore it's considered atzilus. So the neshama, which is from Yichud Zun, although technically he's considered a neshama d'atzilus, b'chlolos he could be fallen to the category of neshama d'briya. Yes, already a sheiches to be a b'simitziyas b'fnei atzma. I'm not 100% clear, but that's what it sounds like, the close saying. Okay, fine. So we understood why that we have to speak about the fact that the neshamas are in biyah, but on the other hand, that the pnimis of biyah, and then better they're atzilus, and they have the chad bedorah, because that's how they could be poil on biyah. And the Mamer is trying to be madgish because that's the nekud of the Mamer. How neshamas could be poil on the. That's what the Rebbe is saying in the Pidei Rebbe. Yeah. There's the word of the Malachim over here. Sif hey, I know Sif man. I know the nekud of the Malachim is the neshamas pnimis malachim chitzenis and ilmus chitzenis to chitzenis. And it sounds like the way we're poil on the world is through the Malachim. The Malachim are considered chitzenis. In other words, they're not the kavana of the world. They're a product of the world. They're the most refined nivra in that type of world. They're the most refined in the way that they can be massacred properly. So I guess neshamas have a bit of a problem. I guess from both ends. From their pnimius part, they're really shalei be'erich to the bria. From their chitzonius part, that they're affected by bria, they can be gor tachten in bria. So for them to bring, although they are the pnimis oilam and they can have a real deher of Eibishter, and therefore they can be poil, but there has to be a mamutz. There has to be a malach which is a nivra of that oilam. But it was bittul dike edel away. And therefore, mitzvah gidri oilam, they can be masik something. So they can't reach and create the kasha to the Eibishter, like the neshamas, because the neshamas are be'etzem kushet alikus. But when the neshamas reach it, and they want to translate it to Gidri Ha'olam, the fact that there's a malach in between, that is a edel and nivra of Gidri Ha'olam, that could make that's spoiling Gidri Ha'olam. That's why it's bad when you daven, the malachim are ma'ilud the tefillas, or mezakich the tefillas. The fact that it's melubish in the goof makes it the tefillas bepoil are fashmutzik. They're not the way they're supposed to be. But on the other hand, the malachim need our tefillah is for them to say shira, because if the miyusam, our shira is much deeper, much more emes, much more liki than their shira. Therefore, we say shira first, and you have to take it and mashvir, but you need to have them, and know that should be a poil in the world. And it's mad, you should remember that the poil, the way your neshama is down here, you belong to biyah, which has the af in between. The way we were mechalik that that's it, the biyah klolim. So bria is ak, yitzira is atzilus, and biyah is asiyah. So between yitzira and asiyah is af asisif. It's a hefsek. It's a jump. The distance between our connection to the Eibush and High is very far, and we belong to that category. Okay. He's mamshich that in Isvav that the way it comes into the world is be slapshus in the mazel. As the ashpa on one hand is Ein Sof, on the other hand is getting into Gidri Ha'olam. Getting into Gidri Ha'olam means he's fitting himself to Gidri Ha'olam, which basically is on the one hand my limit, you don't see the likus, but on the other hand it still gives a room while he's there that he should have heard the likus, and that's the fact that it's Ein Sof begili ad lamatamah. That's to have both things together. So he says that the ashpa, every ashpa comes through the galgalim and the mazalis, and the Rebbe asks l'chayra why. Mainly the hishavus, I understand why, but I'm saying the gidlu mikatnus legadlus verstehe ich nicht was. And the gidlu mikatnus legadlus also comes through the mazal, as the Rebbe writes in Igeres HaKodesh, that it goes on the tzmicha mikatnus legadlus. Why does it have to be? And the answer is because the ashpa has to come through Islam. The Rebbe says if you look into Igeres HaKodesh, the Chayra Tzapel. Yes, again, says exactly opposite. Yes, again, it says that is the koyach ein sof das misgal in ilam hazah tachtin and koyach atzemeach ba'afar haaretz, because the tzmicha Me'ayin liyesh of the tzemach is b'koyach Ein Sof. It says that kol tzemach, that einliche eise shein mazel l'makar b'yirun l'gidal, that's only after he's already gadol. Because before he's tzemach l'mi yomar gadal. And the mail is not from a mazel, it's from Ein Sof. Here the Rebbe is saying that the Ishavos has to be through the mazel. That's versteh. A pelle is, why does it have to be by the gidul mikatnos legados? I'm not 100% clear. I'm saying, first of all, sometimes we get too caught into terminologies. Just to understand the inyan. The mazonos is the ruchnistic nature of the world. The plant that grew is a gashmistic plant. So it obviously went through the halabosha of this musig, of this teva called mazolis, called teva ha'olam, called tzmicha gashmis. Otherwise it wouldn't appear to be a tzemach gashmi. If koyach Ein Sof would be mizgalat Ein Sof, it would look like Ein Sof. The fact that it looks like a tzemach gashmi, because that means, that's pshat. If you just take it in a teuchendike manner, that means that it went through the mas. What the Alter Rebbe is saying in the Igeres HaKodesh L'Chayda is that this idea of the mazel makabei v'omer ligdal, which kilo means you could kilo be misyachis the pu'ula to the mazel. I said the Eibush is menal the whole world, but the Eibush is mashpia through a thing called koiches hateva, which means that there's kviyachol koli hateva, and the Eibush is mashpia according to those koli hateva. Which kilo means that the titzah, this happened is because of kol yateva. Obviously, b'shlita of the Eibishter, v'chulu, but it's titzah of kol yateva. When it comes as a result of kol yateva, you could ki'ilu say the mazel makabu. The mazel saying. Obviously, the mazals have no b'chira, the hashpos only through them, kigazim b'yad ha'chaytziv. But the fact that there's like rules, and then an outcome based on those rules, and it fits, it's stimmt, it's ki'ilu called that there's a pu'ula of that rule, and the outcome is a tetzah of that. Tzmicha mi'ayin liyesh doesn't fit to those rules. If there's no tzir already before of this tzemach, it's just a inyan ruchni, that the garden has that teva ruchni, and it disintegrates. This is very svet ois. And mela the rules in a Mesudic way can't be the one saying Gedal. It doesn't fit to those rules. So it's Koyach Ein Sof acting, be slapshus in Giriatach. In the Tzmicha, Mikanas and Seshtim Shendam Mitzias. Already there's a tzir of this teva, of this semach. That no very bissel mer, so it's a kilo stimmt al pi seichel, stimmt al pi cheshbon, so it's stimmt that you should say that it's a titzah of the gedorim of the teva of Elamaz, that the mazel makbir maligdal. But then he's asking, why b'chal does it have to come through the mazel? If you want to create that there should be a tzir gashmi, it has to be mislabish in the mazel. That makes it tzir gashmi. Once it's already a tzir gashmi, and you're giving him more koyach, the tzir he already has. He needs to get more koyach. Why does the teisefes beracha mitzidam mitzad atzma have to also be mislamish in those gedorim? Yeah.
Why does that have to have?
Since the tzir gashmi is already here, so whenever there's a teisefes hashpah of the Eibusha to that tzir gashmi, it will translate in the teisefes of the tzir gashmi. Ki'ilu, there's no need that mitzad, the inyan of the key, mitzad, the hashpah that's coming to him, he should be mislabish in the tzir gashmi. I'm not 100% clear, but it sounds like that's the shay. And the answer is that Ein Sof Lamata Din Tachlis Kaviyachol wants to be mislamish. His mind is that he's mislamish, he's coming into Gidri Atacht, and he's that he's misava, misgash, and that's part of the Islamshus. When he's coming in Mashpi into this world, he himself relates in every detail and of the Dashpar to Gidri Oilam. He's becoming like part of it, being Mashpia through it, Mashpia in a way that fits it, So when he's being Megal Ein Sof, it relates very much to Gidri Tachtan and it still stays Ein Sof. That's the flaw of Ein Sof Lamata Din Tachlis. He could have stayed there Ein Sof Hecher. I mean, Mashmeh to the Tzemach. And since it's Tzemach is a Tzemach, then he would grow in his Tzir. I'm not sure exactly how that would work. But there's a Inyan Mitzad, the Ein Sof, that he should come in that Tzir. And therefore he's mislabish in the Mazal and Mamela, the Ashpoah itself comes in the Tzir Gash. Okay, so we spoke of what are we talking about in this Mamer B'chlal? The Hemshech HaKiyum, the Tisefes Bracha, which comes into the world, and you could be makir that it's from Ein Sof. Or maybe not in the same direct way as Ishavos, but you could be makir Ishavos through that. And therefore it's called Beretz Begilu. We spoke then about the Neshamis being Biyah, but on the other hand, they're the Pnimius, and they're Atzilus, and they're connected to Chad Bedora, which the combination of all these things together allows them to be Mashpiyah on the world in a Pnimius way. If we were lacking one of these things, it wouldn't be able to be Mashpiyah. And then you have to have also the Malachim in between, because since their higher part is distant, the lower part is already mushpa by the Grobkeit of Biyah. So in order to bring their Shira to actually affect the world, it has to go through the Malachim, through the middle stage, the Chitzonis. And then we spoke a bit about Avo, Zun, Yichud Avo, Yichud Zun, and Hashem come from Yichud Avo, come from Yichud Zun, the Torah, etc. Okay. Fine.